Hey everybody, welcome to a new movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about the new Rian Johnson film, Knives Out. Rian Johnson has done films like Looper, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Um, he did a film that I really didn't care for called Brothers Bloom. He's done Brick. He's done a couple of other big films. But he's now kind of moving into the mystery and suspense, whodunit kind of mystery tale within the mystery and suspense genre for this movie. So definitely in the line of like Agatha Christie or classic whodunit kind of mystery stories. But in this film, you guys, Knives Out, it's about a famous author who also writes mystery and suspense stories, and he one day is found dead. He is labeled as suicide, and so the family is kind of devastated by this. They kind of don't believe it at first. So once they get an investigator involved, they get a detective played by Daniel Craig, and he starts to kind of rule that out at first because he really does think that this could have potentially been some kind of murder or setup of some kind to make this author do this really horrible thing to himself. So as the film progresses, both the family and this detective played by Daniel Craig have to figure out, was this a suicide? Was it a murder of some kind? Was it a setup? Was the guy kind of forced to do this to himself? What exactly could have brought this really famous author to kind of do this horrible thing to himself, leave all this money and property and all this kind of stuff behind to his family. They really doesn't kind of know what to do with all this because they kind of have lives of their own also. So throughout the course of this movie, we have to figure out what exactly happened to this author, and was it a suicide or was it a murder of some kind? So overall, guys, I really enjoy Knives Out quite a bit. Normally, I don't love Rian Johnson's films. I liked parts of Star Wars The Last Jedi. There's a lot of things he did in that I really think don't represent Star Wars very well. Without spoiling anything, I thought how the Force was used in that movie was very unusual and weird. But for the most part, I enjoyed that movie. So I went into this film kind of with the right expectations, where I was ready to see another cool whodunit kind of mystery. But I also went into it knowing that I didn't exactly love all of Rian Johnson's films in the past. I'm also somebody that wasn't completely in love with Looper when that came out. I thought that movie had a lot of problems when I saw it. Um, but for the most part, I really enjoyed Knives Out. So for what it's worth, it's my favorite Rian Johnson film, even though I don't have a lot of favorite Rian Johnson films to begin with. So for my positives and negatives of this film, though, there are a lot of nods to Agatha Christie and classic kind of Scooby Doo kind of mystery stories. So for those who are kind of hoping for a Hercule Poirot, Agatha Christie kind of a story, it's definitely one of those kind of here. Detectives looking for clues of all shapes and sizes. A lot of looking around this mansion, figuring out there's footprints or things left behind, or when was the last time this person saw the author at this day, and this kind of thing. So a lot of nods to that kind of thing that you would see in a lot of the Hercule Poirot stories that Agatha Christie used to write a lot. And I can't get into the Scooby Doo one too much, but for those who kind of figured out how the Scooby Doo mysteries worked, as far as who was the person behind the mask, who was the person who played the monster in each episode, there's definitely some nods to that too in this movie, because there is some comedic elements too, and there's a lot of elements of things that kind of add up to the person that really kind of was behind all this kind of a thing. So a lot of kind of classic Scooby Doo nods in that regard too. I also thought this was a very fun and mysterious kind of whodunit story. It's a whodunit mystery story with plenty of suspense, but it's also fun. It's also comedic. It's also just kind of a fun time at the theater. There's some drama in it too. So it was a fun, mysterious whodunit kind of a story. I also thought the narrative in this film was a lot of fun. It's fun. It explains all the right things. There's even scenes where we kind of see like the author in his last days before this suicide setup kind of happened, and how he kind of explains everything to certain people, kind of how he went about kind of his side of the story for when he was alive and things like that. I thought the narrative that this film had was very fun, and I thought this film explained all the right things without giving away too much, and it gave just enough things away towards the end to kind of make you realize and understand all the mystery that happened in this film and what exactly all the answers are to this mystery. I thought another compliment that I have for this movie was the blend of comedy, drama, and mystery is all blended very well in this movie. So it's very funny. It has all the right drama and it has all the right suspense to kind of keep you guessing throughout the entire runtime. So a great blend of comedy, drama, and mystery in this movie. Another positive for this movie is the acting performances. Daniel Craig plays a very good detective in this movie. I liked Chris Evans as kind of this comedic son of the family that was kind of given all this stuff, all this money for no reason, and he was just kind of living off of the family fortune and really not doing anything with his life. We have other great performances from Michael Shannon and Don Johnson. Christopher Plummer played the author in this movie, and so he did a very good job with that. And, he's known for like Sound of Music and things like that. I also thought Anna Demirs, who was previously in Blade Runner 2049 and 2017, I thought her performance was very good in this movie, and it's a very big performance without me giving away too much. So she was able to kind of keep her own on the screen for a while in front of all this talent. Jamie Lee Curtis is in the film as well, and she's also very good. So tons of great performances here, and definitely a stellar cast to bring those acting performances to their full potential in this movie. I also like the mansion setting in this movie. They had a lot to play around. Definitely a lot of whodunit kind of fun with that. They definitely had all the right things with looking for footprints, looking for objects, looking for people who might have saw the author before his passing and things like that. So there was definitely a fun mansion setting to this movie. For my negatives of Knives Out and why it's not going to be like my movie of the year or anything, while you're probably not going to see it in my top 10 list, though I would strongly recommend seeing the movie. I thought the film was very slow paced at times. There was just a lot of moments where I thought it could have definitely picked up the pace, definitely could have been told in a faster fashion. There's just a lot of moments in the film where it really just kind of drags a little bit, and I really wish the pacing could have been a little faster as a result. I also thought there could have been more mystery solving at the mansion. There's just a lot of flashbacks when they get there. There's just a lot of scenes where they're going outside the mansion looking at like a forest or going downtown to find some type of medical thing and things like that. There's just a lot of scenes that go outside the mansion. And the film is at its most fun when they're kind of solving this mystery within the mansion and figuring out who exactly did all this and things like that. So I thought the film was the most fun at the mansion, and I thought there could have been more scenes with more mystery solving inside of this mansion as well. There's also a lot of cheesy moments in this movie. Without giving away too much, there's a scene where um, one of these characters is basically out running from the law. They have police cars chasing after him, and right after the police chase happens and they finally catch up with this person, she requests to go to this random address of some kind, and they just let her go there after committing this horrible thing in a car. And there's just a lot of cheesy moments like that. Like, look, if that really happened, that person would probably be in jail for a long time. They would not be allowed to finish this mystery with this family. They would have to probably spend some prison time in order to outlive and continue their lives in a healthy way. They would not be allowed to continue this mystery after committing something like that. So there's a lot of cheesy moments in this where he's like, I don't think that moment would play out that way if this were to really happen. Another negative I have with this movie was there's just a lot of uninteresting side characters. This family is so huge that this author came from. And there's just a lot of characters that really kind of don't need to be here. They're just kind of there to kind of be a potential suspect to this mystery, and some of them are just kind of there for a couple of chuckles and laughs in certain scenes. So I thought some of the side characters in this were just really uninteresting. They were just kind of there to make this family look bigger in certain scenes. This film also has a lot of uses of flashbacks, and I think the film uses too many flashbacks. It even gets to the point where when they're at the mansion doing stuff, there's so many scenes of things that happened long before this movie started, and they kind of repeat the same flashbacks at times, and I really just kind of would have preferred a film where it was about investigating the mansion and finding clues and the more the typical whodunit kind of stuff in a new interesting way, but it goes so much on flashbacks and days that happened earlier and things that happened earlier with certain characters and things that don't even involve the mystery itself and things like that. So I thought the film's uses of flashbacks was just way overdone. Too many uses of flashbacks. Could have just had a smooth running narrative without so many flashbacks thrown in. So, one personal preference of mine that I thought the film did too much of throughout the runtime. But overall, I'm going to give Knives Out an 8.5 out of 10. I highly recommend seeing it. It is a great whodunit mystery with comedy and drama and suspense. That's a ton of fun to watch with tons of stellar performances from a stellar cast. But there are things that are working against it, like slow pacing. I think more time could have been spanned at the mansion, doing more mystery solving. There was just a lot of uninteresting side characters here, too many flashbacks, and some cheesy moments that kind of ruined the film for me a little bit. But 8.5 out of 10 for me. I highly recommend seeing the movie. Definitely go out and see it if you like whodunit kind of mysteries. 8.5 out of 10 for me. I recommend the movie.